the moment we've been waiting for. The president. Daniel LaRusso's going to fight? Daniel LaRusso's going to fight! Now isn't this what it's all about?
Sweep the leg. You have a problem with that?
No, Sensei.
No mercy.
That's 2 points for LaRusso. Lawrence, nothing. Ready? Fight! Contact to the knee. Whoever wins this point will be our new champion. Finish him!
And that's kicking. Ay, 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 ay.
Hello guys, welcome back to another Lightning Collection review. I'm Lightning Collector 2021 and today we're going to be looking at the Power Rangers and Cobra Kai crossover from Hasbro's Lightning Collection. Before I get too deep into this, just wanted to give a little explanation of what's going on. So I didn't want to review all these separately because I don't think there's going to be a massive demand for these toys. So I didn't want to have to put 3 videos out for it. I thought this just made sense to do it like this. And for anyone who doesn't know, I will give you a quick rundown of the Cobra Kai and Karate Kid franchise. So back in the 80s, the Karate Kid was released and there was 4 films, only 3 of them starring Ralph Macchio or Daniel LaRusso in this one. And basically he was new kid in town, moves to different schools. So he meets this girl who he starts to take a liking to. He then finds out that the girl's ex-boyfriend takes a disliking to him and he starts getting bullied by the ex-boyfriend who's Johnny. So Johnny starts regularly bullying Daniel and then there's a little bit of back and forward and then it gets to a point where Daniel can no longer take the beatings anymore. Daniel finds out that the person that had helped him was Mr. Miyagi, who is the caretaker of the building that he lives in. And Mr. Miyagi agrees to teach him a bit of karate. Daniel later agrees to fight Johnny in a tournament and he goes through the tournament later on. Obviously Daniel wins and then there's a couple of bits that lead on to other events for the other films. Then fast forward in 30 years later, Cobra Kai comes out. So Daniel is now successful and he's got lots of money. Johnny now doesn't have any money after coming from a wealthy background. And Johnny starts to open up his own dojo again, calls it Cobra Kai, so he brings Cobra Kai back to the valley. Daniel finds out there's massive rivalry between them and the students that are involved and all that sort of stuff, which later on leads to more tournaments and things like that. Then after a while there is some returning characters from the old show. Then after a while there's some returning characters from the other films and Daniel and Johnny have to team up to fight off this other dojo. I don't want to go too much into that because that would spoil it, but you kind of get the drift of what's going on there. So as you can see so far, we have got Samantha LaRusso, who is the morphed pink mantis ranger. We've got her dad, who is Daniel LaRusso. He's a white crane ranger. And then we have got a Skeleputty just on the end here. Now the Skeleputty idea was obviously picked out from the show and something that had happened in the film where there was a dance at the school for Halloween, and in the Karate Kid movie, Johnny and the other Cobra Kais would dress up as skeletons in these little skeleton outfits, which are the same as these. And then it was followed on later when another Halloween party where Johnny had got Miguel to dress up in the skeleton outfit. So it's not just a random figure. There's obviously been some thought put into it. I can only imagine that's where they've got this from. Where they've got the outfits from on here, I have no idea. Obviously, the only thing I can think is that Daniel and his Miyagi-Do would always wear white. So on the front of the boxes, as you can see, we've got our Lightning Collection Power Rangers Cobra Kai logo at the top with a background of all these different logos. So we've got the Power Ranger logos in there, Karate Kid kick that's on the front of the films in front of the sun. And we've got the Miyagi-Do logo up there, the Cobra Kai logo, and another one of the snake, and then a couple of different bits on there. Obviously, you can see we've got a 3D render of our figure with some digital artwork in the top corner, which is looking pretty cool. And then just labels at the bottom. On one side, we've got our Cobra Kai logo, just the name of the figure that we're getting inside. And then at the bottom, we've got obviously our head. So we've got the Putty, the White Ranger, and the Pink Ranger, or Daniel and Samantha on the side there. On the other side, we've got our digital artwork with a little Cobra Kai logo at the bottom. So you can just see it there. And then on the back, we've just got render of the figures, all our legal stuff at the bottom. We've got our Power Rangers, Lightning Collection, and Cobra Kai writing at the top. Then with what we've got inside each figure. So in this one, we should get our Skeleputty with 2 extra hands, so 1 closed fist and 1 holding hand. We get an effects piece that goes on the fist, and an effect piece that just goes over the torso of the putty, which we've seen in every other putty. With Daniel, we're getting our figure, plus 2 posing hands. So they all come with posing hands because they're not holding any weapons. We get an effect piece, the ninja head scarf, which we've seen before in the White Ranger, and then just the lower piece of that as well. And finally, with Sam, we are getting our figure, 2 posing hands, an effect piece that goes on the karate chop, and a neck piece for our ninja scarf head, which is included. Having a look at our first figure out of the box, so I've picked Samantha first just because she was nearest. They are posed up, I'm afraid, because I've had them in my case for a couple of days. But this is how she comes out of the packaging. I haven't changed the hands even. If you know the show, you'll know that that really doesn't look like her. I can see where it resembles the character in a way, and she's definitely got the same sort of hairstyle, but the hair kind of just looks like a bit of a blob back there because there's no sort of detail to the hair. But the face is painted nicely, and there's no sort of paint issues with my figures. So other than the face sculpt looking questionable in relation to the actress, she does look okay. So she is on the usual Ninja Ranger body mold that we've seen before. The only difference is that really she's just got a new coin that's been put over, and she's got a black belt instead of a white one. I will do comparisons at the end. All the paint looks on there is pretty nice. Obviously on the back that she has her Miyagi-Do karate, which is her dad's karate gym. And the hand sculpts do look pretty good without the gloves on. I'm glad they're not just flesh-coloured gloves. They are a mould of the hand. So looking at her accessory, her Ninja Ranger head, the scarf that goes underneath, which again we've seen before. She comes with a karate chop effect piece and a couple of extra hands, and it looks like I've got 2 of the same side hands out of mine, which I never noticed until now. Looking at the putties, looking very, very nice, very putty-like, and it's what you would expect. And the suit does look really cool. This is definitely my favourite out of them. So all the bones match up pretty well. So there's no weirdness on the paint apps. You can see that the detail in the face and the hands are a little bit different to the older putty. This looks like they've just made it a little bit lighter and put some black wash in it, and it looks really nice. I really like that. It definitely looks more putty-like than the other ones. The face sculpt's nice, and they've put a little bit of wash on there so it doesn't look overkill, but it looks really nice. And on the back, he's just got some extra detail for his suit, and then he's got the Cobra Kai logo in the middle. He does come with 2 extra hands, the effect piece in white that goes over his body, and the effect piece in white that goes over his hand for his fist. And lastly, looking at the Karate Kid himself, here is Daniel with his nice white suit. There's no gold smudging like my White Ranger had, so that's pretty nice. He's got a lot of detail in the suit, as does Samantha, with a nice coin in the middle of his chest. His bandana looks very well done. I didn't expect it to look that good, and it looks exactly like the one he wore. Then on the back, he has his Miyagi-Do karate logo. Excuse the pose, but he was standing in my shelf doing his crane kick. Detail on his face looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with it. You can see that he is an older gentleman, rather than just giving him a basic teenager head sculpt. And looking at the last set of accessories, he does come with his Ninja White head, the scarf that goes underneath the head, the karate chop effect piece, and 2 closed fists. So looking at some articulation on these figures, I'm not going to spend too much time doing them because they're exactly what we've seen before. The only difference really on these is the hands and the fact that they have made these joints so big that you've got a lot more articulation on them, so you can close them all the way down, all the way back. So they do actually sit how they're supposed to sit, which is really nice. This one is pinless and she's got double jointed elbows and knees, and she does have the drop down hips as does the other Ninja Rangers. So she is exactly the same as the pink Ninja Ranger we've seen before. The hair doesn't really hinder any movement, and she does look up and down as far as the scarf is gonna allow. Next, looking at the putty, he is exactly the same as what we've seen before again. So he is pinned, which is a bit odd that they've done that, but I can understand that they're going to want to use existing body molds and stuff like that, which is probably why they've done it. You can't really notice it because the pins are the same color as the suit, so that's good. And he does have the normal articulation and the double jointed elbows and knees, articulation in the midsection. His head is very movable and moves up quite a lot and down a fair amount. And again, it's just what we've seen before. Then finally, the articulation on Daniel. My hand has got a bit of extra skin, which I need to, or a bit of extra plastic, should I say, I need to snip off shortly. But yeah, he has the same sort of hands as Samantha, where they do have quite a lot of movement in there to be able to adjust your figure to whatever you want it to do. So they do go up and down a lot, because as you can see there, the joints are quite large. But he has the normal articulation that you've seen on the White Ranger, obviously restricted by the suit that he's wearing. But he does have the double jointed elbows and knees, and his headband does not restrict movement in the head. He can look up and look down quite a bit, so depending on the position of your neck piece. Moving on to some comparisons here, you can see that we've got Daniel and Tommy. So there is slight variations of the paintwork. So as you can just see here, Tommy has the black diamonds on his suit and Daniel has some that are white. So the main bigger ones on his suit are white, but the smaller ones that you can see on Tommy's here are black throughout the figure. So you can just see on Daniel's feet that he's got some that are black, some that are white, which is fine because it kind of gives a bit of difference, and it's not just here, let me swap the head and the hands and you can have that. And for anybody wondering, yes, you can switch the hands. They are a slightly different color to his face, but if you had them on a shelf, you really can't notice if I stand him here. Next up, we've got Kimberly and Samantha here. So you can see that there is a slight different color variation, and it is literally just on the belt. The diamonds are the same. So the diamonds on the boots and on the hands are exactly the same. So this one is literally just a swap of the coin and a color of the belt, plus the new head and the hands. Lastly, we've got the putty. So this is the original putty and obviously the Cobra Kai putty. You can see that they are basically the same with slightly different paint job. The difference is the Skeleputty does not come with any extra weapon hands or nothing like that, like this one does. So obviously he comes with a ball on one hand and a sword sort of thing on another. This one doesn't come with any of that. He's literally there to fight the LaRussos by hand. Wrapping up this review with my final thoughts. It's a tough one because I really like these figures and I can totally see why other people wouldn't buy them. I know there's a lot of people out there who are not interested in watching Cobra Kai or haven't watched the Karate Kid movies. So seeing as there's no comic book or no show or no relevance where these tie in at all, I could definitely see why you'd skip them. The putty looks nice and I really do like the putty. I like what they've done with it. I really do like Daniel, and you can definitely see the likeness between the figure and the character. Samantha's head sculpt looks awful, and it is unfortunate because she doesn't actually, you can kind of see the resemblance, but she doesn't actually look like her. You can see that the hair's a slightly different color than what it should be. There is no detail in the hair, apart from a little bit in like the ponytail, a little bit at the back of the hair. Otherwise just looks a bit more like a brown blob. It's really cool that we have finally seen the flesh hands, so there's no gloves on these figures, which I really like, and I would love to be able to get some more of these to swap out my Ninja Ranger figures, but there's just no way that I'm going to be paying another 25 to 30 quid just to get 2 sets of hands. The price point on them is about right, so they're about normal figure amount, but if you are looking to get these, I would definitely recommend at least getting Daniel and the putty or waiting for them to just go on sale. As I said before, I was a massive fan of Cobra Kai. I really like the show, and I grew up always watching the Karate Kid. If you haven't watched Karate Kid or Cobra Kai, they're all on Netflix. It's definitely worth a watch. If you are an 80s or 90s kid, you'll definitely appreciate the old films, and seeing how they've tied in the show with those films is really, really good. Let me know what you like or dislike about these figures, and are they something that you're going to be picking up later? Is it something that you've got on pre-order that you're waiting to come through, or have you grabbed them already waiting for them to come through the post? Thank you very much for returning back to my channel and watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. But that's all for me for today. Thanks for watching. Bye!